trickle-down economics was a viable ideology. And I say at one point in the past, when companies invested into themselves in a more horizontal fashion. What I mean by that is companies' investment can be either vertical or horizontal. Vertical investment is financial growth. We saw this a lot during COVID. A lot of people did not like the fact that pharmaceutical companies, especially their CEOs, were making millions and millions of dollars. And the reason for that is the company would take the money that they made and reinvest it in themselves while cutting out their workers from receiving any additional benefits. Vertical investment, which means the company does not grow outwards. They don't open up new store branches. They don't invest in new ideas. They don't hire new people. They invest in themselves to keep some random profit margin and graph trending upward, where they are constantly making a percentage more profit year over year. So a lot of people don't understand this, but financial growth targets are based on where they are now versus where they want to be a year from now. A company can make $50 million this year. If they only see that they made $50 million next year, they have 0% growth. Anytime you tell someone that you have grown 0%, they're not going to like that. And they're going to look at cost cutting and reduction measures. Yeah, stagnation in growth is effectively lost revenue in their eyes. Even though they're making the same amount of money they made last year and the year before, they're still making $50 million. They're only making $50 million. They should be making more. And I'm not saying they should be making more. I'm saying this in the aspect of how they view things. And so they incorporate cost reduction measurements, cost cutting, corner cutting, what have you, right? So they have this imaginary target they want to reach where they say, okay, let's target a 10% growth ratio. They're starting out with $50 million. They target 10% growth in order to reach $55 million. What are they doing with that $5 extra million? More than likely giving it to themselves, buying stocks back from their shareholders, cutting checks to their shareholders who have invested in their stock. They're not spending that $5 million to build new branches. They're not spending that money to maybe invest in other companies who are just starting up and have this new idea that they want. They are not investing in their own employees. They're not doing any of this because this is all horizontal investment. They're going out, not up. Because what does this do? It depletes their own personal profit. This in the past was the case. To grow, you need infrastructure as a company. That infrastructure meaning you need to create new branches, you need new departments, you need more personnel. That is horizontal investment. That is how trickle-down economics worked in the past, because the idea was that a company grew, they made more money, that money invested into more people working for them, they would open up new locations, they would invest in other companies for new ideas that would then generate growth for a local or wider economy. That's no longer the case. Usually it's giving it to themselves in the form of stocks, which they use as leverage when taking out loans, which they spend like it's their income. A trick used to avoid paying income tax, but that's a whole different can of, yes. Yeah, there are entire accounting firms devoted to making sure people that have massive amounts of money pay almost nothing in taxes. And the sad part is that is a legal, not even a loophole. That is just how the law was made. And the reason why the laws are made that way is because if you have money, you can lobby politicians to do what you want. There was an interesting study by a university or an institute a while back, and this is a while back, it's about 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, and it researched the likelihood of a bill being passed since like the 1950s or 1960s. And the likelihood of a bill being passed was a 50-50 coin flip on whether or not it would benefit the citizens or society at large. However, when they looked at whether or not it would benefit a company or companies, it had a extremely high likelihood of passing. I think it was on the order of like 80 or 90% of passing. And the reason for that is companies can lobby what are called lobbying firms to basically make massive donations to campaigns so that someone who's running to be elected has more money to spend on their political campaign run. Which means, barring some serious destruction of society the things will likely never change. Yes, that's exactly how it's going to go, sadly. What'll happen is basically not what will happen. What is basically happening right now is a restructuring of any form of democracy into neofeudalism, after which will likely become anarchy. Like a massive shift will occur at some point. But anyways, this was the idea of trickle-down economics. And in the past, this worked when companies were not as beholden to their own shareholders, and outsourcing was not as commonplace or as feasible as it is in today's society. Because that is not the case any longer, trickle-down economics simply does not work. All economics is now trickle-up. That trickle-up economics being, let's cut out the low levels, save some money. We can buy this company instead of investing into them, cut 50% of their workers, and 50% of the work can be redistributed among everyone else. We don't need locations. Let's just move online, and we can just have people buy our products online, and we can ship it to them, right? All of this gets canceled out to save money, which then trickles upwards. Oh, this company is going to make something that can potentially compete with us. They're already starting to attract some investors. Well, let's just put a bunch of money over here, buy out the company, shut it down, take that idea, make it ours. We make more money. This is unfortunately how economics works in the modern and digitized age. And that's why people hate the government, whether it's the US, whether it's the EU, whether it's somewhere in Asia, whether it's in the Pacific Rim, whether it's in Southeast Asia, wherever you are. 99% of the time, your government does not do things in your own best interest. They do things in their own best interests, whatever can make them money.